Oh yes, oh yes, we is here. Very excited. All right, everyone, please settle down for the love of God. You're embarrassing George, not me, because I love it.
I'm always embarrassed.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We are live coming to you. It is 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Pacific it's about 5. So we are actually excited to have Nick Drago on the show this evening, and he is a dancer, writer, producer, actor. He does it all. Very excited to have a conversation with him. So let's just bring him on because I don't like to talk that much. I like to just bring people on. Let's just do this, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nick Drago.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey.
Thanks for having me, George and John. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, our pleasure.
Absolutely.
So this is, I know you and George actually originally chatted. I think more probably nutrition, and we're going to cover a lot of things today. Because I feel that like art, film, music, and health, especially today, is so together more than any time and ever. Like in order to really work and to be able to be productive, you got to be clear-headed. You know, you got to be, your body's got to work. You got to have all these things in place. So I think it's going to make a really good conversation for to talk about that.
Certainly, it's a nonstop. You know, from dawn till dusk. I mean, you have to be sharp-minded, and you know, there have been times in my life that I've definitely slowed down and just felt like I got to hit the reset button somehow. So I mean, one thing I hope that we can cover today is that, like, hey, it's okay. Like, sometimes you're going to hit a rut,
right?
You know, and that's life, right? It's all about how we adjust. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Thank you both for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Our pleasure. So why don't we start? Tell us a little bit about like your background, where you're from originally.
Well, I'm originally from Houston, Texas, and I grew up there 18 years. I graduated high school, well, I guess I was a dancer. I became a dancer when I was 4 years old. I saw Footloose with Kevin Bacon. And,
that was it.
Nice.
Right. And I said to my mom, I want to be like Kevin Bacon. So she put me in a dance class, and my mom was a teacher, so she knew a professional dancer in the Houston area. And he said, "Oh yeah, bring him over to this studio or whatever." And you know, it's kind of all history from there. You know, so from there I learned about Gene Kelly and all other guys, you know, that were dancers, because honestly, you know, the generation that I grew up in, it really wasn't something that guys could talk about. Not a lot of my friends knew that I was a dancer. The really close ones knew I was a dancer, but I kept it a secret because, you know, Texas, and as you can imagine during that time, you know, it was all about football or nothing, you know.
Right.
Thankfully, I've come from, my mother's an author and an English teacher, and my father is an artist and a painter. So I was exposed to many different walks of life and art and things like that. So thankfully, they helped support me through that. And then eventually, you know, I graduated high school and it was time to go to college, and Oklahoma City University was up the road from me. And they have a great dance program up there. And so I said, yeah, I guess I'll just go there. my mom and dad took me out to Los Angeles every summer, you know, growing up. And, you know, I eventually knew I wanted to get to Los Angeles to work in TV and film. And I had worked a little bit. I'd done a few commercials and gigs out there in Los Angeles, but I knew education was important to me. So, and as I found out later, it's a perfect time to go to school, mess up, get all those unprofessional experiences out of the way, show up late, you know, realize you can't do that in the real world. So anyways, so I went to school there 4 years and moved out to Los Angeles, and here we are today. It awesome. Just happened that fast.
Wow, so did you do that whole starving artist thing when you got there, and you know that whole
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny because I moved out. I had a job lined up. A choreographer said, "Look, we're going overseas. It's $800 a week, and it's like 3 months, and you know, $800 a week, that's nothing to shake a stick at." But I mean, you know, it was, you know, it's everyday rehearsals. You know, if you really broke it down, it'd probably be a little bit less than minimum wage for the amount of hours, but it was a ready-made job. So I packed up my car and got out to LA, and they didn't return my phone calls.
Oh no.
It was, so it was an immediate dose of Los Angeles and professional reality that Don't believe anything that anybody promises you after dark.
Right.
And, things can change in a heartbeat, So, yeah, so I moved in with two of my buddies that lived out here. And eventually the landlord found out that I was living in like the loft, and they said, you got to get out or else all these guys are going to get evicted. So I lived in my car for a few weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I won't claim immediate, like crazy hardship like some people have. I've been very blessed to have my parents supported me, and until I was ready. Finally I was like, all right, I got to take on one bill at a time. Thankfully, I had that to fall back on. And I always tell everybody that's going to move out to LA or New York, hey, have funds saved up. Like you're not missing anything that's going to make or break your career.
Right. Save
money so you're not stuck having to do odd jobs at times where you're going to miss an audition. Like set yourself up for success.
Right.
Said than done, but
yeah, exactly. I always thought in New York that distractions was really what destroyed a lot of young people that I saw coming in. And everyone, and I tell this even to my wife the other day. I was saying, everyone always has a birthday party coming up, right? Everyone's kids got a party. There's always a thing that we can go do. And I'm like, well, I have stuff to do. I can't just go to every single party. And so I remember like these kids just going every weekend. Oh, Joanne's birthday party. It's Nick's birthday party. It's George's birthday party. And the next thing you know, a year, 2 years goes by, and you've lost. You didn't lose. You had experiences, and sometimes those experiences are great. But at the same time, you really have to stay focused when you're in this business. Because there's so many distractions, and there's nobody really telling you get up and do it. Right. You got to tell yourself. How do you deal with that part of it?
Well, I mean, I spent the better part of my 20s just riding the wave and having fun, and I was working. I was very fortunate to work as a dancer, so I had money coming in. But the thing that I didn't realize is the longevity of it. As you get older in your 30s and your 40s, the phone starts to ring less and less. So for some of us, as we all know, the business ebbs and flows. So I think it got to the point where kind of in my 30s, I started really settling down, saying, what's the long game here? I can't be 65 years old one day hoping I get a call for an audition, and that's going to help me pay my mortgage. That doesn't work. So I started really realizing that my time was important, and that I didn't want to pass up any dance jobs, for example, but I didn't want to also leave any opportunity on the table that might be a little bit outside of dance. It might be like splinter off, like walking home or things like that. So, nowadays I'm very much like, if I'm out, I'm kind of like, man, I can be at home writing my screenplay,
Right.
So, but the nice thing is we have these now. So
right.
If I need to find a corner and do my thing, I have workflow will travel. So it is definitely a balance. I think that I struggle with personally feeling guilty about not getting enough progress done during the day. It's important that I feel like at the end of the day, I feel like, okay, I did a good job. And I try to say, God, just like by the end of the day, whatever it is, I just pray that I can just feel like I did a good job today. Sure. Not only my to-do list, but being a good human,
Right. I think it's morale too. Production is the basis for morale. When you're producing, your morale is high, and the next day makes it easier to produce.
Right. And have you noticed that sometimes when you're not producing or you're not involved in something, don't you feel this weird inherent thing where it's like, I'm not good enough. What happened?
Yeah, it's crazy because you have too much time to start thinking, and then that part of your mind comes in, and you're like, and I'll force myself to just sit down and write something, even if, or play my guitar or do something just to force myself. You probably do it.
No, absolutely. Like John and I are musicians as well, and so we grew up playing. John and I are cousins, just so you know. Okay, so we grew up together. We were
first band together, rock and roll.
Yeah, we were in the first band together. We toured, we did albums, all that stuff. So we've been in that music scene, and then John, also has done acting and directing and all that. So he's been very successful in those things. My thing was, and kind of piggybacking on what you're saying, it's like, if I'm not playing, if I'm not creating, I'm dying, really. And I had this conversation with my wife. I'm like, listen, I got to create something. Even if I create a website, you know, because it's just,
Yeah.
it's in my soul to create something, whether it's music or whether it's whatever else it is. And that's just a part of what we are, right?
Right.
You know?
As an artist, and what does an
Yeah.
artist do?
Creates.
Great. Yeah.
So
And what do you do when you finish that? You got to start something else.
you have to. You
It's-
gotta have it. Yeah, it's gotta be in the pipeline. You gotta just have that pipeline constantly
Yeah.
feeding it. Yeah.
So my mother's a published author, and when I got into writing, she was like, it's just, I have to warn you, it's a very solitary venture, and you do feel lonely at times. She says, it's just how it is, but you end up spending time with these characters, right? And you get to learn, and they start talking to you. It's kind of a weird dichotomy that happens within your brain, but it makes me realize that why so many artists went crazy, went mad, because they spend so much time alone and on their work, and then it's like you're involved, and then you have to step out. It's like playing a video game for 10 hours straight.
Right.
You go drive somewhere to Target or whatever. It's like you can't really feel like you're out of Grand Theft Auto or whatever it is you're playing.
Exactly.
It's an interesting thing, but I think that the creative soul, like you said, it needs that. We feed off of being creative, whether it's good or bad. We just want to create.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like you have to also destimulate from what those characters, like you said, and I enjoy it, but like it gets to the point. Like I remember, I can't remember, I was saying somebody, but I wrote this whole thing, and then like in my dream, this character had said something different than what I was in the film, and then I was all upset. I was like, oh, he should have said that. I'm like, this guy is still talking to me in my head, and I'm asleep. I'm like, am I going nuts?
Yeah, no, you're not going nuts. He's growing. He's evolving.
He's growing, yeah, exactly. Right. And a lot of the films that I've written, I think they keep going in my head. Yeah. Like they're doing other things now, and I think about that a lot when I watch a TV show or something that I really like, and the show ends.
And you're like, what are you doing now? Oh, I know, dude.
Yeah, it doesn't end.
Yeah,
it keeps going, and I start thinking about what's happening. That's why these things that when they come back together, these reunion shows are so popular, because people are just like, oh, what are they doing now? You want to know.
Right.
It's such an interesting phenomenon.
There's I was a big Sons of Anarchy fan, and
okay,
so that show ended and the Mayans came out, and I always really I worked with one of the actors on that show as kind of her dance coach from time to time when she has other auditions, and I'm always like trying to pump her for information. Like,
what's happening?
The sun's coming back at any point. When they make a cameo, it's really cool. So I agree. I mean, it's a whole idea of like what we watched. We watched Sons of Anarchy for them riding motorcycles and shooting guns and doing cool, outlaw stuff that we'd never be able to do, but we stuck around because of the characters.
Right.
And that's what I love so much. And, and I'm sure you feel the same way. It's like your characters are still talking to you. And then sometimes if I'm not writing, I feel bad. I feel guilty that I'm like, I got them hanging, they're in a
they're waiting. They're sitting around there like this.
I
want things to say. Hello.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of that incubation period has been the most difficult thing for me to get used to. It's like, it's okay if one day you don't see a little bit of progress on that. It's still rolling around in your head,
Right, it's progress isn't always just the pen to paper.
Right.
Progress could be making a cup of coffee and getting an idea of something and being, oh, that's an interesting thing. Maybe that would work, or maybe it's just getting a different viewpoint or something that I think really can escalate it.
And as musicians, I'm sure you guys go through the same thing when you're creating a piece as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, George and I haven't played in a long time, but the time that we were playing, it was just like a constant create, and then when you're not, it's like. And I was always one also, and I don't know how you feel about this as a dancer, a choreographer, somebody who creates dance. I never was into like copying a song. I was a cover of a song. I really sucked at it, and it wasn't that I was I like Santana, so I did a lot of Santana stuff, but I did not go out and you see some of these guitar players on Instagram, incredible, covering note for note these amazing guitar players. I was never really into that. I wanted to create my own thing, sort of like choreography, where you want to kind of create your own interpretation of something, And so that to me was a really important thing. And George and I would talk about that all the time. you have to write music. You have to create
Yeah.
it. No one is tremendously successful doing covers of other
Right,
people's
right,
bands.
right,
For
Exactly.
as a full career. You
Right.
you
And
know what I
it's
mean?
fun to do
It's
that, to
fun.
learn, because look, your fingers are strumming the same notes as the
It's
legends.
exciting.
right.
Right. So I think that's a way that we grow as artists too. But I agree. I'm the same way. And my choreography was never like mainstream. Like, I didn't, do much out here in Los Angeles on choreographing TV shows. I was always just in it. But when I do choreograph, for studios around the country or things like that, I do want it to be my own, because, I forget who said it, but they said, be yourself. Everybody else is taken.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah. I heard that
yeah.
one. Yeah.
But it's so true. It's like when you're first starting out, just talking as a musician, when you're first starting out, the first thing you do is look at your heroes and you start to emulate them and you start to do what they do. But then eventually you start to veer off and get your own style. And it could be a mixture of a whole bunch of different things or a whole bunch of different people, but then you turn it into that style that's all your own.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. And it should be. And I think it's important. I mean, this is where history comes in. I tell a lot of my students is that, look, go find your favorite dancer on TikTok, but ask them who their favorite dancers. Do that. Find out who that person's favorite dancer and that person's and that person, and then it's Anna Pavlova, from whatever, the famous ballet dancer, all the way down the line, because we're all influenced by this great I mean, we're a part of history, no matter if it's movement or visual. I always like working with live musicians, because as a dancer, I mean, that is real energy, right? I mean, I'll tell you a quick story, is that I did a show with Debbie Reynolds years ago, and she was coming in to do good morning, good morning, to it. And it was so exciting. And there's like 30 dancers in this particular number. There's like 5 or 6 of us in the tap dance number. And little we didn't know, but she went up to the conductor before the show and said, "Hey, I want it faster. Good morning, good morning." And she didn't tell us. So we're like, all of a sudden, live, can't be 7,000 people like, "Good morning, good morning." And it was hilarious. I mean, it was hilarious. And then the number ends, and she ends on my knee, big ta-da, or whatever. And she starts singing the next song. And she looked down at me and goes, "Uh-oh, I think I messed up." The microphone, I go, "Well, just take it again from the top, Debbie."
She's Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah, you're Debbie Reynolds. And she did. She took it again from the top, and the orchestra followed her, but it's always great to work with musicians, because then we get to say, thank you. Thank you for bringing our dancing to life. And, we don't realize that they're like, thank you for bringing our music to life, And
Absolutely.
it is a relationship that's, we don't have to have eye to eye on stage the whole time to be connected. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And it's also why they tell you to go say hello to all the musicians before you start dancing, because they'll change that tempo on you if you're
That's true. That's very
true. You can't do anything about it.
Exactly. And somebody like Debbie Reynolds brings to the table just so much of that history you just mentioned.
Right.
It's, I mean, my gosh, I mean, Singing in the Rain to me is like the best musical in my opinion, because it has just so many levels. It has a great story. It also has a amazing dancing on it, and the songs are great. But it's also just really well acted, and the overall arc of the story is just, it would be good without even music.
Oh,
because it's just a great story.
Yes. And that's what I loved about Gene Kelly so much, is he's like, I could relate to him because he was an athletic guy.
Yeah.
Real dude. And I was like, that's me. I want, he could be a soccer player or a baseball player. I was like, that's me, and I saw myself in him, and he was, he was athletic and everything that I wanted other people to understand, that like, look, guys are like this. It doesn't have anything to do with who you date. Right.
Exactly.
This is why I'm glad that we are where we are now in the world. I see a lot of male dancers, and that's like so cool. Yeah. It was a struggle, and Gene Kelly was definitely a trailblazer. He didn't even know he would be for guys like me. And it was beautifully acted, and Donald O'Connor was amazing. And
man,
and
funny too. Just so funny. The whole overall film was just so funny.
I mean, like laugh out loud moments.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so good. And, one of my favorite numbers is Moses Supposes. So if anybody out there watching hasn't seen that, go back and watch it. And I love how they shoot it, the coverage. You know, they don't they don't punch in, they don't do
one shot.
Yeah.
It's like nuts. I mean, Fred Astaire was like,
yeah, exactly. Because to me, camera should always speak with the choreography. You know, choreography doesn't dress the camera moves with the choreography to help enhance the story of the choreography.
Correct.
And that's why it's important for choreographers and dancers to tell a story while you're dancing. So you take that responsibility out of the camera. So the camera can enjoy and frame and make it, even give it that little bit of more beauty, you know, to make us appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I think
it's hard. Do you think that there was a, sorry, George, I'm asking the questions.
Go. I'm enjoying this. This is great.
Sorry. But do you think there was a disconnect at some point? Because you look at like Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly and those guys, the films were just the director was so aware that you have to really capture these dances, and Debbie Reynolds and all the others. And then somewhere along the line, dance became sort of like I'll give you an example is Fame, right? The TV show Fame, right? Huge thing. I loved it, but it was very close up of the body parts spinning, flash dance, the film Flash Dance, same kind of thing. I think they had one number where there was wide, where there were the break dancers, right? And that was like the only wide shot that you can see. Everything else was like too fast and speed. I think Scorsese with the Michael Jackson when he directed the Bad, kind of understood it. He used the camera almost as another dancer as well, which was really great. But where do you see that going as far as covering dance? Because it's something that I've never really asked a professional dancer before.
Yeah, in what you say, it was, that sort of thing with Bad, like those little inserts all make sense, right? Because it continues the story, the little nuances of these gangster dancers or whatever.
Real tough.
They're just tough, right? Yeah. But I've noticed that as well. I think a lot of when Steadicam came into the picture,
ruined everything.
it ruined some things, but it made some other things like beautiful and wonderful. But I think it all starts with pre-production. I mean, I can't speak. I wasn't in the room for like the Step Up movies or anything like that, or You Got Served. But I would imagine they wanted this high energy, boom, boom, boom type deal. When you have these battles going on, which makes sense. It works with the narrative of the storyline. But I definitely think it's gotten tighter and tighter. I worked on Glee, and it was cut up quite a bit, but that was the style of the show. They wanted you to they would cross the line, no problem. A lot of times we'd be on stage, but we'd shoot for 14 hours and they get what they get. They'd send it to editing and they needed pizzazz, or I don't know what else they needed. But, I think every production approaches it differently. I also think that depending upon what kind of director you have or production team you have, what are you trying to show? La La Land was kind of an ode to the old RKO and MGM pictures. Like I would dance on the freeway, and it was very wide. Very wide, yeah. We could see things, and
I love that.
yeah, I do too. And because to me, dance, it doesn't need to be complicated. It's very much, we're doing these moves, but everybody's seen the moves before. It's not about the moves; it's about here. It's about this. And so I feel like maybe the MTV generation, TRL, maybe that had to do something with it, because there are some really cool stuff. But to me, Transformers, it gets a little too tight in on everything, and I can't tell what's going on.
Transformers, I can't even watch without getting nauseous. I don't.
Right, that's true.
I don't know what's going on.
And me too. Like I like everything else except for when they start, transforming. In case Michael Bay is watching, sorry, bro. But that's not. I mean, I've also not shot a big blockbuster film either, so I can shut up. You know what I mean? So to me, anytime I've been on set or working with, I had a production company years back, and we were kind of all dancers turned film people, and we would just make sure, hey, let's frame this. What is the drive? What is the message that we're trying to say with this choreography? whether it be through a product or a storyline or an abstract piece. What is it? And then you build the camera around that.
Right.
But
And I
that's
think
just,
what you said is right. The pre-production, I think it's huge, because then you have a set plan and you have a director that kind of understands. Dance is one of the mediums where really, and I just thought about this now, but it's really a medium that when you're seeing it live, it's an art form that live is the ultimate, right? Like music, live music is great, but you can get a live recording and really enjoy it, especially with the technology and the headphones. You get really a good, you get immersed. Film, of course, you get immersed in the film, but with dance, you really have to capture that. I mean, Fred Astaire's that whole number where he does the drumsticks, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I mean, good Lord.
right.
I mean, it's like all one shot, just back and forth, and he's doing all these things. I mean, it's just like, that the work was put in and saying, let's just get a wide.
Get a
I'm
wide.
just gonna do it.
Well, and also budgets. I mean, look, with technology, you look, you guys are filmmakers. You want to do cool stuff. You want let's get in here and
Put
do
lasers on his tap shoes.
Yeah, I mean, why not, dude? Why not? But so, I mean, well, I will say one thing with Fred Astaire is that he danced with Ginger Rogers, and they always say there's the famous quote in the dance world is she did everything that Fred did, but backwards and in heels.
Right.
So
Man.
if we didn't show the wide, we wouldn't see her doing that, right? And be able to appreciate that, because I think there are times where today on set we'll try to hide the inability or lesser ability of some actors that are movers, right? To make them look good, obviously, to protect them, right? I mean, that's I would want the same thing if I was doing a martial arts film and I didn't know how to do it. You need a little help, and out of respect, and so but I think that back in the day, people were purists. They were dancers, actors.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Even the great musicians, even a lot of the musicians that I admire. I mean, one of my favorite just entertainers is Sammy Davis Jr. Right.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I was such a fan, drummer, dancer, singer. He did it all. Right.
Comedian. I mean,
And
he was
Comedian, super funny guy.
But through him, that I got to know the Nicholas brothers.
Yeah.
And meaning I got to see them, there's some videos of them, just one take of them coming down the stairs doing unbelievable things that I didn't know anything about these till I started doing more research on these guys. Amazing entertainers.
I mean, can you believe that they could actually walk too in their old age? I mean, it was jumping down
with that
splits. I mean, they were phenomenal, dude.
Yeah.
You want to talk about like athletic? We talk about Gene Kelly being an athlete. Those two guys, two guys were cool because they looked like normal dudes.
Right.
But
They
I don't know if
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they had chemistry too.
Absolutely. I didn't mean to only mention guys too, because I know they're, but Ginger Rogers, incredible.
Of course.
Sure.
Vivian Vance, I think, what's her name also. She was in White Christmas, I believe. Great dancer also, from that era. So some great dancers, but all around
for sure. I mean, that's and it's awesome. I mean, the history, to me, it's all about history, because if we don't know where we've come from, how are we supposed to grow and evolve? So, I'm kind of at the point in my career where I'm realizing that I'm part of the history.
Well, you were always part of it. Just now you're a little bit more aware of it.
I just
have a little bit more history.
I have gray in my beard now, So.
Well, listen, there's some of the things that you've been involved in. What, Wizards of Waverly Place, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Dancing with the Stars, Scrubs, Fuller House. You've danced with Jessica Simpson, right? You've been a part of a lot of fantastic things.
History.
And history. That's history, right? And then, like you said, you had your own production company. You've done films as well. Is there something that is dance like the number one, or is there something you lean more towards, or?
Dance is what I know best. I'm the most comfortable. I can, now in my career, it's mostly like do fun arms and spin around and hey, I'm a hot dog vendor or whatever. So which I'm fine with. I'll take it because I get paid the same as if I gotta do a head spin on a car. You know what I mean? Which I'm not doing. So dance is it. I mean, I've had the most fun with it because it's kept me young and kept me meeting other creative souls. Definitely, the Scrubs and the Wizards of Waverly Place. I mean, a lot of those are just one-off days, one day rehearsal, one day shoot. And but I've tried to be a sponge when it comes to film in general. Very early on, I realized like it's not just about the dance. It's you know, we dancers, we come on set and everybody's excited because they don't always see dance on set. So they're like, "Oh, this is so great!" I'm literally Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like all we did, I was dressed like it was a royal baby. I was in like a onesie. And we just threw the up in the, you know, it's just, but people go crazy. G.I. Joe 2, I did a thing where it was, you know, we were down in New Orleans for 2 weeks to just do a little ballroom sequence around a Steadicam because John Chu needed people that were aware that could move around cameras. So, but people flipped out. They were like, "You guys are amazing," and I'm like, "Well,
that's awesome."
You know, yeah, but I mean, there's a reason why we got beat with sticks when we were in ballet class. You know, it was a different time. So I would say that's my bread and butter. And on the side, I have a dance competition and convention, kind of in studio workshop thing. So we have teachers that go out and teach and educate dancers around the nation. And so I'm kind of straddling, still being in the dance world, and I don't know what I'm doing. And then that's when I started writing about 5 years ago. And I did the Muppets, the first Muppets with Walter, you know, Jason Segel, and they introduced the character Walter. And if you go back and watch it, you'll see I'm getting married at the beginning and construction worker at the end. So I met, well, I didn't meet. I reconnected with a buddy of mine named Michael Riccio. And one night we were out at this bar after rehearsal. We always go to the bar after rehearsal because it was the cast was all of our mentors. Like we had people that were in Laugh-In and people that were in Blazing Saddles and all these generations, and they'd come out and we'd get to talk dance, you know? Wow. And so Riccio and I were sitting there like, man, we should write something. I think we're meant for more, you know? And I said, okay, I don't know anything about it. He's like, I don't either. He's like, just come over tomorrow and we'll look on the internet and see how to write a script. So we started doing that. We started reading and kind of self-educating and you know, no film school, you know, but we started to really learn and grow. And that's kind of where my love for writing came in and production and being on the dance side of things, where a lot of times we're not in our own trailer. We're kind of in a tent and it's cold and they want you to dance 15 times in the middle of the night, you know? And so we started to learn to respect every job on set and get to chance to talk on set to people and say, hey, you know, so that way, you know, because what I've learned is that the more you can respect other people's jobs, the easier your job's going to be. And the more they're going to be willing to go that extra mile for you when you're in a pinch.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a huge thing. So, you know, but as a dancer, you're a storyteller as well.
Right.
So it's innate in you to know how to tell a story. It's just a different type of, you know, the pen to paper is a little bit different, but I think the concept is it's already there. That's why and isn't it a wonderful thing to just say, let's write something. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's freeing.
It's so freeing. Yeah. It's like, you just say there, you're just like, let's just write something. Okay. And
it's so
good.
Well, because as dancers, we're told do it like this, you know. And my wife is an actor turned director, and I always used to tell her like, I don't understand. There's got to be a way to act. Like there's got to be one way. She's like, no, there's not one way. And I said, well, dance, there's one first position, there's one second position. It's either right or it's wrong. There are versions of it around the world that you may say your pinky needs to be at this angle and not this angle, but that's about it. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so it's freeing to know that I'm not in the background anymore. And that was kind of my drive to try and start writing. And, you know, I'm still writing in the sense that I haven't really sold anything yet, but I'm gonna. And it's a journey. Look, it took me a long time to get into the dance world and get where I am and feel comfortable. So now it's going to do the same thing here. And, but yeah, it feels good to push a plot forward, because there have been times where I'm in dance, like we do Glee or something. I'm like, you know, dancing in the background. I'm like, man, if we had a backstory, you know, what would we do? We're on set for 16 hours. You're like, there's not much to do other than, you know, we're, you know, Canada school, whatever, you know, I don't know. You make up your own little backstory. Right. And now it feels good to be like, you know what, it's okay to do that. It's I'm more than a dancer. And I think that's the message that I want people to know, is that you don't have to just be one thing. I spent most of my life thinking I'm just a dancer. I'm not good enough to act or say words on the screen, but that's not true. I can do all that.
Right.
I can act, I can produce, I can write, I can be responsible. Nobody, you guys know, nobody knows what they're doing in production. You just do it,
Right.
and hopefully you do it right.
I'm always shocked when it actually happens. I've been on sets where I'm like, I've been on sets where you're thinking they like only got 5 minutes to get this. Oh, so we're not gonna, and then somehow it happens, and you're like, how did we do that? That makes no sense. But yeah, it is an insane kind of I guess it's also, I hear stories of theater, like backstage is like insanity. And then the show comes on and the show is great, but backstage everybody's nuts running around back and forth.
It's noises off. Have you guys seen noises off?
Yeah, exactly.
With Michael Caine and John Ritter. Yeah.
But it's funny because this type of stuff, whether it's art or music or whatever, that freeing mentality of that you can do anything. It's almost like when you're a kid, right? When you're a kid, you have no constraints. You can be anything, right? You're an astronaut, you're this, you're a doctor, you're that. So when you like what you're doing, you're still in that mindset of, yeah, I could get that, I could do that, I can get that thing. And it's one of the hardest things for artists, especially once they get older, to keep that mentality, because sometimes they shut themselves off mentally. Now I'm too old, I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. So to get past that actually is a big thing.
Well, that's what I said to my mom the other day. I was like, God, I got one of my script reviews back from a competition, and it was okay, but it wasn't like, of course you want them to come back and be like, this is perfect, we need to make this tomorrow. Right. So that's not going to happen. We know that. But I was disappointed, and I don't mind talking about that, because that is real. That is a real struggle, right? We have to know what doesn't work so we can figure out what does. And I said to my mom, I was like, golly, dude, I just feel like I suck. And she's like, well, every writer feels like that. And, every successful writer feels like that. That's what she said. I go, so what you're saying is, I must be really good. Every successful writer feels like that. I must be on the right track. Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard.
Yeah.
And my wife knows too. I mean, we've both been to many auditions, and that we were probably the best people in the room. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying how it is. Where we got the job, we didn't get the job because even though we were the best people, we get a no because we're a little too tall, or her hair's not blonde enough, or whatever. Right. And then there are jobs where you go in and completely boof the audition, and you get it. And it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. Auditions to me make no sense. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary called it's actually about character actors, and it's called That Guy That Was in That Thing. That's like the name of the actual documentary.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they basically interviewed them. Yeah, they basically interviewed about 6 or 7 character actors that we've all seen a million times, but no one could really pinpoint their name. And one of the guys said about auditioning, which he was totally right. He said, you can walk into the audition room, and the casting director, you walk in and you remind the casting director of his son, his brother-in-law that he loves. Right. Mm-hmm. Or you can walk in there and remind him of his brother-in-law that he hates.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you, so auditioning is really a strange thing, but you're right. It's taking that risk. Mm-hmm. And understanding that there's a process here, and the process attached to that process is sometimes failure, and it's not even a failure because that's a rough word, but it's not getting to where you want it to get to, or getting closer to where you want it to go. And those are the two things that I measure everything with, because if you don't, this is a kind of industry, and you are by yourself sometimes. You're sitting there, you got your coffee, you got a piece of paper or your computer, whatever, and you're like, I suck. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Why is this character talking about this?
I know.
Like, you want to just scratch everything,
Or if it's going, like, I get a little shaded out too. I'm like, why is this going so well?
Strike yourself out.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But see, I think that many in my generation, I think y'all as well, that we waited around for opportunity. I think the whole idea was like, work hard and then you'll get noticed eventually. But you know that in today's America, that's not exactly.
Yeah, you have to create.
You got to create.
Create your path.
Yeah, because there are some great people out there that are ready to give you opportunity. But but I mean, why? Why wait on them? I mean, like, let's do it. I mean, I don't think the trailblazers of our lives waited. I think they were like, whatever. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I'm going to go back and I'm going to put on my tap shoes and I'm going to go to the studio. And it's. I think there was a time in my career that I felt a little bit like, oh, I kind of owed this, which is a privilege, and I'm okay to admit that is something I'm dealing with, right, or dealt with. That I felt like, well, I've got time in the industry, I should be getting these jobs, but that's not true. It's just not, and call it what you want. I call it God telling me it's time to start a new chapter.
Yeah.
But it's all about being grateful for what we've had and realizing, like, you know what, there's some people who came out that didn't get a chance. They were better dancers than me. They didn't get an opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think having a little bit of grace for yourself, but also growing from that and realizing, okay, Nick, shut up.
It's also empowering when you really come to that realization where you say, okay, for whatever reason, this didn't happen, but it should have happened, but it didn't happen. All right. So what can I do now to make something happen instead of going home and just waiting for the phone? For me, my situation, I'll just tell a quick thing, because I was always getting cast as, I'm a short guy. So I was always getting cast as either the mailroom guy that's been there for many years, that's sympathetic and loser. I was, whatever it had to be. I was a mailman once. I was a lot of landlords. I played a lot of landlords and Jewish characters and all these characters that I was kind of like, it's fine. I was working and I was getting, stuff that was interesting, but I was like, I wanted to be like a leading man. And I thought, well, who's going to make me a leading man? So I said, well, you know what? I'll make myself a leading man. So I wrote literally a script. And it was a short film that I did. And I called up a couple of friends of mine. And I said, can I, I want to shoot this thing. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And that little tiny film went to a bunch of festivals, did a really, really well. And it was a little comedy. And I played a professor. And, and for me, and that was the moment that I realized, actually, the moment happened when I went to HBO once. I auditioned twice in HBO and I was so excited. I get called back. My agent calls me and says, John, they freaking love you. They wanted you to meet the director and everything. And it was for that show that Ted Danson was on a long time ago. Can't remember. It was on HBO. Schwartzman.
I remember.
I can't remember the name of the show. So I'm so excited. So I leave HBO and I'm like literally la 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 la. la.
Clouds,
The phone rings literally about 10 seconds after I'm going la 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 la. The guy, my agent, is like, John, I'm sorry. They decided they want to go another way with it. Yo, I was in the train. I was on the subway. I was like, my heart. I thought, damn it. It was like, why? And then that's when I kind of started. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start writing stuff and just putting myself in things and getting other people to do it. And 10 films now that I've written and shot. I've kind of learned the process. I didn't go to film school. I learned by being on set, watching, observing a lot of YouTube videos and stuff. And I think that empowers you. Like what you said, it really is something that you can take and say, this is mine.
Right.
This is my ability that I have right here. And I'm going to use this now to get what I want, as opposed to waiting for the phone. This is a mouse.
Like, please let me have some more.
Right.
Because it's before we know it, we're older and we can't play those roles that we want to play. And,
right.
So
we don't want to look like this.
I'm about to shave my beard.
I'm 25.
I know. I hope I can see my jawline in a few days. Like, that's what I'm really hoping for. My wife's like, the pandemic's pretty much over, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God. Because I was like, let me get new headshots. I'm gonna grow out a beard. I'll be a construction guy, whatever. I'm getting into that age group where whatever, I'm definitely not taking my shirt off in auditions anymore, and but it just didn't work out. So we're gonna try a different direction. But I think it is a trial and error deal, and I wish someone would have told me, and maybe they did tell me, I just didn't listen. But maybe I wish I would have had the approach of like, it's all good, it's okay. It's a big world out there. Just because I'm not getting this or that doesn't mean I'm not worth it. But for some reason, like we said at the beginning, we feel like if I don't work or if I don't do this or that, I'm nobody. But our identity is not tied to our resume. I've been trying to tell myself this in the past year. Like, if my friends show up to my funeral and they're like, Nick was great because he was Theodore in the first Alvin and the Chipmunks, and man, he was really great dancing around like that, and I did something wrong. like when I go to,
I would love that actually, but
yeah, he wouldn't mind, right?
when I go visit my fraternity brothers in Oklahoma City, because a lot of them still live there, none of them ask me what I'm up to. They're not like, yo, what are you in, Nick? What do you got going on? Like, they don't. And because they're my friends, they don't
care.
Right.
They care about you, right?
Yeah. Like, I'm like, oh man, that's really awesome, dude. I love that. And that's how we should be, right? But because we can't create if we don't experience actual life, right? If it's all this like,
absolutely.
What are you up to? What are you doing?
Right.
I mean, I don't mind talking about it with you guys because we're on the show. This is what the show's for. But
right, exactly.
In the grand scheme of things, I think it's important to have that support system that just looks at you as you, George and John.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. George, I feel like I've taken a lot.
No. This was fantastic. I wanted to kind of go to the backstory of how I got to find you, actually. So, my wife did these does the walk at home videos that they have on YouTube from Leslie Sansone, right?
Yeah.
And there you are doing the walk at home thing, right?
Right.
So, and she does it religiously. I mean, she does it every single day. She loves because she does like the 30-minute workout. So I said, okay. So the first thing I asked is like, I wonder if they have one for guys. So sure enough, I do a search and I see the men's mile.
Yeah.
And it's your video and you're leading this thing. So I said, okay, I'm gonna try that. So I start doing that video. And then I said, you know what? I said, I see that he not only has his own video, he's doing a lot of these videos. I said, I'm going to look him up and see what he's all about, because you have this charisma in these videos. I mean, you make me really want to, move and pump and stuff like that. So it's fantastic. And it's a great workout, by the way. But that's how I found you. And then I was realizing, I was like, holy cow. I didn't realize that you had done so much. So how did you get hooked up with that whole thing?
Well, first of all, thank you, and tell your wife thank you too. I appreciate the support. We're so glad she's walking with us. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you're walking with us, dude.
Yeah.
I'm always like, more dudes, the better, man. Dudes can be walking. I got hooked up with Leslie because I got called on an audition from my dance agent. They said, just go to this audition, and this was 8 or 10 years ago, and they said, they just want you to walk. And I was like, walk? What are we talking about? Walk. And then we go up there, and Leslie's there, of course, and she's like, hello, everybody. How you doing? This lady can't be real. Nobody's just happy, and sure enough, she was, and she booked me, and I was like, this is the easiest gig ever. It's just walking in place, and then, this will be easy. And then little kicks and little steps aside. And then we started doing it, and I was like gassed. For those of you, for your viewers who don't know, is that Walk at Home engineers their music to where it's beats per minute equals steps per minute. So by the end of the 15 minutes or whatever, you've walked a mile.
Yeah.
At the end of 30 minutes, you walk 2 miles, and you do it in place. There's 4 basic steps. There's walks, there's kicks, there's side steps, and then there's knee lifts, and then there's all this other stuff that you add into it. And sooner or later, I'm dripping with sweat. I'm a professional dancer. That used to dance like 20 hours a week, and I can't even keep up 15 minutes. It's so great. And so, I booked the audition, and we became fast friends. Leslie and I were both Italian. And so it was awesome. And then she, eventually said, let's put a mic on Nick. And I was like, okay, put a mic on. And then the next day at the shoot, she was like, Nick, you're going to lead a men's mile. And I was like, what? Wow. Yeah.
Look at that.
Because I'm not the kind of guy that's like, let me just do something real quick. I need to practice. I need to rehearse. I'm type A. I want to make sure I'm representing everyone good, myself good. She's like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. I'll be right there holding the cue. She was holding the cue cards for me.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Which I thought was like, this is so like, I'm your servant, not.
Right.
And
she's so cool.
Smile. Everything's fine. And, it turned out really good. And so we developed a friendship, through the years, and she's had me on QVC a number of times and shooting DVDs. And I mean, anytime they call me, I pick up. I mean, because they are just such great people. Everyone's always like, "There's no way they're that nice," but they are. They are. Yeah. They're good-hearted people that care about others. Right. Fitness journey and feeling good. And what I learned through that was, we can't waste a day. We have to be present in our lives, and we have to realize why we're eating healthy. You can't just eat healthy because like I need to look good with my shirt off. Like nobody cares about that, dude. But your kids, your family, your dog, your whatever, your ability to be mobile and walk around on vacation with your wife in 30 years. What you do today will affect you 30 years from now.
Absolutely.
So that's how I got hooked up with them, and I love them. If it were up to me, I would shoot miles every day for them.
Right.
That's awesome. That's great.
That's so cool. I haven't actually checked that out. I'm gonna check that out because that's something that I definitely would be into for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's especially during the pandemic when a lot of gyms were closed and stuff like that. So where people were able to just go on YouTube. And I and we talked a little bit about this, Nick, but I do my own show on health and nutrition and stuff like that. And one of the things I endorsed was that those videos and stuff. And I said, this is a great thing to do when you're home. Let's say you can't get to the gym or whatever, that type of thing. But it's so good because you really can get the sweat. You can feel it. And just like you said, the whole reason for remaining healthy, especially as you get older, is because, the way I look at it is, I have a 15-year-old daughter. Eventually, she may want to have kids, and I want to be able to dance with my grandkids, and I want to be able to pick them up and run and do all these things with them without having to be in a cane and a walker and all these things. That's why I do this. That's what drives me for health and stuff like that. So
Same thing for me. Yeah.
You too. You have kids as well, John?
Yeah, I have 2 kids, and I have young kids because we started late, or I started late, I should say.
Well, you're ahead of me. I ain't started yet.
Yeah.
So I got to do like 3 miles a day.
Yeah. But I tell you, it's not, when you actually are active and you're actually conscious of it and you know what you're eating and you're just aware, it's not even an issue. I feel like I can go to be 90 and be just fine. At least I don't want to be a burden on those that love me, because that's always been like a thing for me. My grandparents lived to be 90, in their mid 90s actually. And it was just like they were mobile almost to like 92, 93 years old, and that was because my grandmother hated going out, eating out. And she wanted to cook at home. So it was always home cooked meals. She would never go fast food and anything that was outside. And that really made a difference for her, to be in her 90s. What's out there right now, man, it's rough.
It's hard. I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, I don't always make.
No, I don't either. I can't. I'm not pretending that I'm like.
No.
I don't go to Chick-fil-A.
But right. I know. But see, that's the hard thing. And I think kind of where I'm at in my life and what I've told people too is, and I'm not a registered nutritionist. I'm a group fitness instructor and a dancer who used to get beat in dance class if you didn't do the right thing. So, so that's all. That's the extent of. I joke, but what I've told people is that, like, look, it's about making a healthy choices one at a time. It's not, you don't need to do like, let's go crazy because you fall off the wagon like that. Start healthy habits,
Absolutely.
This week, I'm not going to drink soda. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to have water or whatever, anything there ready for me.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you because it's hard. Nobody tells you when you're in your 20s that in your 30s and is going to be okay. And in your 40s, your metabolism is going to be like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
And you're going to like hate yourself sometimes. And you're just like, why am I doing this? And what's wrong with me? And I'm going to eat a hamburger and then I need to work out. And, you're not prepared for it until you go through it. So I think, the American Heart Association says as little as 15 minutes of cardio a day of elevated heart rate can help reduce your risk for heart disease, for diabetes, for heart attack, stroke,
Alzheimer's, and all this stuff.
Yeah, it can improve your sleep patterns, reduce stress. I mean, so I tell people, like, look, if you got an hour lunch at work and you're too tired when you get home, dude, throw on, walk at home, do a quick mile in your office if you can, or go to the parking garage or whatever. We all have 15 minutes of scrolling in our life.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So start,
Yeah. And as artists also, it, all of us, it affects our art too. The nutrition and the fitness also, because I know, like, when I was on stage playing drums, especially, John and I used to play rock, hard rock, and we used to play alternative rock and stuff like,
Yeah.
you need that. You need that stamina to be able to play, and that clarity, that comes from making sure you're making good choices and stuff like that, because it blends into each other as well.
It does.
And with directing also, like, especially now, when you're a director is an insane position, right? Because it's like, you have to know every single thing that actually is happening on set and know where everything's supposed to be. Right. And so sometimes you're thinking ahead of like what has to happen, even the crew that's setting it up, whatever they're setting up, whatever shot. And if you're not eating well and your mind is sluggish and I mean, I don't even know how some people operate. And, you see people that, they're kind of like, cuckoo,
drugs.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but it's drugs. So
you have to be treating your body right, mind and body. And the other thing I would urge people to do is, man, stretch. And I don't care if you're in your 20s or what.
Right.
Stretch, yes. I stretch every morning. Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
stretching is so huge.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife sent me to Yankees fantasy camp a few years back. It was awesome. I was so excited. I'm like, I get to play baseball again. I hadn't played since I was a kid. Wow. Of course, first at bat I ground out. I'm like, I'm not gonna let that happen again. I hit a ground ball again on my second at bat, and I just tear down the first base line. And along with me tearing down the first base line, so goes my hamstring.
Oh man.
Golly. And I'm a dancer, and I was like, golly, I didn't even see that coming. But the fact of the matter is, the older we get, the more we have to do maintenance. The more we need to grab a tennis ball, man, and just put it under your thigh and just sit there and roll it around and release that lactic acid, stretch, like enjoy your life. Because like you guys are saying, you want to be able to play with your kids and throw them around and dance.
Absolutely.
I learned, when I was in my 20s, I was trying to get bulk, big and, same deal. Now I just want to be mobile.
Yeah, that's it. Right, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, we're not going to all
that's
look
a good T-shirt right there.
Just be mobile.
I just want to be mobile.
That's right. That's right. You guys like the theme song? I'll print the T-shirts. We'll make them.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah.
So, so much that we could go on talking about. We don't want to keep you here all night. But I wanted to actually ask you. One of the things that George and I are really passionate about is always trying to motivate artists, and not just young artists of any age, really. Anybody, we all run into different challenges. Someone that's out there right now that's kind of stuck with the last 2 years has been really challenging for the arts. What's a piece of advice that you would give to someone out there that's kind of stuck and trying to figure out, what am I going to do? What's my next move?
I don't know. I mean, if you can find that answer, I'd love for you.
It's a loaded question.
The artist journeys has been a struggle since the beginning, without a pandemic. So I mean, none of us worked. Hollywood shut down. I think I did one show. One show's coming out next week. It's called The Afterparty on Apple TV. Check it out.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
But it was one job I did during the pandemic, and it was like, man, this is it. This is the only job I can do. So what do you do? And I can't. I won't say that I have an answer, because I don't. Right. I don't think you should quit, but I also think that you need to make sure that you don't lose everything just for this dream for now. Like, continue to follow your dream, but make sure you're financially able to support that dream. Whether that be, hey, hit the reset button, move home, or move to a cheaper place. And, to me, finances has always been like the major nucleus for my ability to create. So when I feel stable, I feel like, okay, I have room for margin of error. If I don't get this audition, it's okay. As artists, we have to be kind of relaxed to be able to do our work. Mm-hmm. We can't go all like this, or else we will fail, because it's too stake. Now, some people work great with high stakes. I don't. I'm like, no, my anxiety.
Yeah, I'm not either. I need to have some stability somewhere. That's why we moved to Nashville, actually.
Yeah.
I've only been here 6 months, so.
It's a great place. It's a great place, and look, after the pandemic, there are people moving to Oklahoma City that are shooting film. There's, you know, Austin, Houston, Dallas, you know, Detroit's still going. New Orleans is shooting a bunch of stuff. I mean, Arizona is building a big Netflix, you know, hub there, from what I hear. So
Atlanta here.
Oh yeah,
a couple of hours from here.
That's right.
I think if anything's taught us, you know, about this pandemic, I think it's taught us that, like, you don't have to be in LA or New York. The game
That's right.
changed,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
changed. Yep.
You know, and like I was on the road the other day, and I got called on an audition, and thankfully it's a on tape audition, and they were like, "Look, just film yourself dancing and send it in," and because they weren't having an in-person audition because of COVID. The one thing I've always hated about the industry is that they call you like 5 p.m. at night, and they're like, "Hey,
I know."
I hate that, dude.
I hate that too.
And what we do, we're like, I can't get this family reunion anymore. I'm going to the airport. You know what I'm saying? Like, we put our dream first, which, you know, our family wants us to do. But it, you know, it's just, now it's much easier. So I would say take a step back, assess the situation. Can you follow your dream elsewhere? If you can, and that would make it easier for you and be more productive, and whatever your situation is, do it.
Yeah.
You know, if I could go back and tell my 20-year-old self, don't worry about the resume, I would probably try and pound that into my 20-year-old head.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect answer, actually. So you did answer it. You did have an answer.
Yeah. Did I? Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch the show back because I still feel confused. I think a lot of times, you know, it you know, and I've said this to dancers before too, like, look, it may look like I know what I'm doing, but I don't. You know, we used to work with some dancers from Pace University in New York City, and they got a great commercial dance program, and they'd come out to LA and we'd film like their project, and it would be dance based and it would be dance on camera. So we'd get to tell them, like, they'd set up their shots and do shot list, and I'd help them do script notes, and, you know, we do editing and all this. And I said, guys, like, we are not, just because we look like we have a job, we know what we're doing. We're like, we don't have a job after this. So don't think that you get to a point and it's just like you're going to coast, you know, unless you're like The Rock, who's in very high demand. He still has to make hard decisions about his career.
Sure.
So, you know, I think that you know, maybe one thing that, you know, dancers coming out, I tell a lot of the fraternity guys that are still at my chapter that are actors and dancers coming out there, you know, I say, just figure out what it is that you want. What do you want from life? You know, find that goal and then allow yourself to follow it. You know, don't worry about what other people have done before you. Set your own plan and follow it. And
Absolutely.
Set a plan to that goal. You reverse engineer that and try to figure out what the plan is to get to that thing that really sets you on fire, things that, you know, where your passion is. You know, I think that's really the key element, is really to, one, like what you said, don't give up, because I think then you'll know for sure you'll never make it, right? That's the only thing that, you know, at least if you say, okay, I need to step back and try to figure out how financially I can actually operate this, and auditions and all this stuff costs money. Even headshots, you know, can cost a couple of grand to get a good headshots, just to, you know, all that stuff costs money, plus all the side, plus the agents, plus everything else. Can you work that into this slower time, you know, and still maintain someone? Because I'm like that too. I can't have too much things going on where I'm like, okay, so I don't know if I'm going to eat. Honey, we might not eat this month because I can't operate that way. My brain I can't function. I can't think. I can't create. So that stuff has to be somewhat stable, so then we could focus on that. I think that's,
next thing you know, you're like Googling how to siphon gas on
right.
don't do that, kids. Don't do that. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's you want to be able to create and give the world what it needs, and give the world what's inside your heart. So my thing would be like, look, don't give up, because you know, what I will kind of button that with is, look, people are going to tell you you're not good enough. People are going to tell you your dreams are stupid. People are going to tell you that your characters aren't concise, or whatever, that guy that told me that, you know what I'm saying? And maybe, you know, maybe there's some clout to that, maybe there's not, but at the end of the day, you got to keep going, because you know, we only got one life, man. Clock's ticking.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. And just to mention one thing you said earlier about, like, not knowing what, you know, I watched a lot of interviews, and I saw an interview with Scorsese recently and Ron Howard for that whole master class thing that they were doing. And they both, and I've heard this from other directors, whenever they go into a project, they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now, they may have some experience. They,
Right.
they know certain things, but they don't know what they're doing as far as this new thing coming up. Now they
Right.
got to sit down and they got to figure out the pieces that I used back there. How are they going to fit into this? And then how am I going to create new pieces so this can go forward and look like something different? You
Right.
know what I mean? So there's that understanding that, you're not going to know everything going in. That's why it's called create.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that's it's not there
Right.
before. You're
Right.
putting it there.
And very rarely will you be accidentally awesome, you know.
Right.
You know, but the probability of that happening goes up with experience.
With experience.
Absolutely.
True.
Absolutely.
Experience and all the rest of stuff that we talked about. Nick, this is awesome. We are so excited that you were here with us. I hope you come back again. We do this every Tuesday night live.
Yeah.
We'll talk about other topics every once in a while. And we just love having people like you with the right energy and the right information for our audience, and really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us this evening.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure. Thank you, guys. I'll come back anytime. I don't have any
appreciate it.
friends.
It was
So-
fun. It was a lot of
definitely,
fun. Thank you so much.
We'll definitely call you again. Thanks a lot, man. I
Please
appreciate
do.
it.
All right, guys. Thanks
right.
a lot. Have a good one.
Take
Take
care.
care. Have a good night.
All righty.
Awesome. So that was Nick Drago.
Drago.
I said it right in the beginning.
Yeah.
But what a great dude. What a great
Yes,
dude. A lot
absolutely.
of information. Good research, George, and finding somebody like that to bring on the show to really provide this. Really, the first time we had a guy who was a dancer, also in front of the camera as an actor. You know, nutrition. I mean, you talk about a guy who has the same thing that we talk about.
He's done it
everything that
all.
we actually- yeah.
He's done it all. I thought that was a perfect thing, and he just had so much valuable information, so much energy.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, whether you're an artist in whatever field, you can look at him and say, you know, he's an inspiration because he's got that. You know, it was great.
Absolutely. Loved it. All right. Cool. Everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you all again at some point. Maybe next week in some places. But anyway, we'll have some information coming to everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Have a great week ahead. And as always,